As I get older, I like it a lot. All right, and we're going to start this part of the informational portion of the meeting with Rick Morales from the small...
Consent agenda.
You know, one of these times I'm going to make it through without not doing it correctly.
Nah.
Teamwork.
I probably won't. Consent agenda.
It'll just take about 30 seconds.
Behind your minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And so I'll continue again. We have Rick Morales from the Small Business Administration who would like to make a presentation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. I already met with the town manager, emergency management director, and with the director of economic development. This is informative information. I know that you don't have physical damages here from the past floods, but of course you might have economic damages. I know that the people always is like discouraged with the SBA, but that's not the main issue here. The main issue is that we are an option. We are an alternative to the different federal agencies and programs. So we were joined with FEMA. This is really, of course, related to the past floods of July in Vermont, but this is a secondary county. That means that you don't have physical damages, so the people only here, the citizens, so can apply only for economic damages. That means businesses and some non-profits. So only here with SBA, only businesses and some non-profits can apply for economic damages. How? For example, if they had a relationship of businesses or of services or supplies with a business in a primary county like Windsor, Washington, Windham, in Vermont, and they are affected, of course they can be affected here, or they might be affected here. So showing the contract, that's the evidence, an example to apply with SBA. We don't only assist businesses, we also assist homeowners, renters, non-profit, and businesses. But that's for primary counties. This is a secondary county. That means surrounding areas, contiguous counties or primary counties. The people always, of course, they get discouraged with SBA because FEMA's grants, free money. Of course, the money comes from the taxes too, like the money from SBA. And we are low interest rates loan from the federal government too. But the people need to comprehend, because all this information is not important only for the past events, but I'm here for possible future events and to share that knowledge, not only with the town manager and with other employees from the government, but with the majority of the employees of the government, because if a person know you, the share, they think that all the government know everything. So if I share the information with the most people as possible, that's the best way to go. So when SBA comes into play, when FEMA denies you, if FEMA gives you funds but are not enough, for example, the people use the funds because we have the 1 year deferment with 0% interest rates. So, for example, instead of waiting for the payment or settlement from the insurance company, they might get the money faster with us instead of waiting for that. And then if they pay you, they pay automatically for that loan directly to the federal agency. That's one option. Another option is, once again, with the benefit of 1 year deferment with 0% interest rates, that you have that 1 year to recover quicker, instead, and you can find other kind of resources with the federal, other federal agencies like USDA. We have resource partners as SBDC that we give them money, and the state too. That means that they work for SBA and the state. In other words, they have grants too. So in other words, you can apply with non-profits, with Red Cross, with Salvation Army. We always recommend the first day of disaster, go to the centers and apply with FEMA, SBA, apply with call a Red Cross, call Salvation Army. So that's the best ways to do the things, to be proactive and to apply with everything. Of course, FEMA and SBA is no duplication of benefits, so that's an important thing to know. BRCs are business recovery centers. Business recovery centers are from SBA, so only the businesses can apply directly with the SBA. As a general rule, the people need to know they register first with FEMA always. Why? Homeowners, renters, non-profits, and businesses. So on times of disaster, they always register first with FEMA. And the exception is the businesses directly with SBA. That's very important to know. Physical damages means no injuries. Physical damages are the damages on houses, real estate, in infrastructure of businesses and all that. Economic damages are for businesses or for ordinary expenses, payroll, when you close the business, to keeping the businesses in business. All this is related to the past floods and the damages on those past floods. It's not for any other disasters. It's not for improvements. It's to return to what you were. It's not to buy a machine to have better sales or to improve your kitchen or your house. Always is related to these events. Because some people, they think that they can apply for everything, but no. And also here, these funds are backwards, for example, because this is for the people in need. The higher your credit score, the higher the interest rates, and the lower your credit score, the lower the interest rates, because it's for the people in need. So I know that some people think that that's not fair, but it's because it's for the people in need. So in these flyers are important because here you can find the locations of the centers, the DRCs of FEMA and SBA, and the BRCs of SBA. Those are the links, and the people that if they want to call or if they want to apply online, we always recommend to go to the centers because they can help you one-on-one to file the applications and they can answer you all the questions. So that's the best way to go to the centers. So here are the locations. Here is general information of the documents that the people need, and here are some benefits. The interest rates are fixed; they don't change for the life of the loan. For example, I have seen payments of $20-something or less because you can choose between 7 and 30 years. If you choose 30 years and you don't take a lot of thousands, of course you can review quicker and pay low monthly payments. I'm trying to explain different ways because always the people, if you share the information, they are going to say, I don't want a loan. Of course, we are another option, but they not always make the thing. In other words, the people need the denegation letter, for example, to apply for other benefits with other agencies. That denegation letter is important. No fees to apply, you don't have to accept the loan. In other words, at least you can have hope to receive something even if you are denied. Because, for example, if FEMA denies you, they might refer you to SBA. If SBA denies you, SBA might refer you back to FEMA, and FEMA might give you all the other kind of assistance like grants. At least if the people complete their procedures with the SBA, they can have hope to receive something. And another example is, for example, if FEMA gave you, let's say, 20,025, the maximum right now is like 41. The people have different ways. For example, if you already received the maximum, you can apply for more funds with FEMA. But if you receive less, you can appeal. But another option is that you can apply with SBA, and if you are denied, you can attach that letter of denegation saying, hey, you gave me this, and you refer me to SBA, but see, I applied with the SBA, I was denied, and I need more money. What are you going to do? Of course, it's not guaranteed that they are going to increase you the funds, but at least you have hope. You have grounds and justifications of why they need to increase the funds, but because are not enough. So I'm giving you different ways of how the people can take advantage of these funds, even though when the people think that we are all loans, but we have approved almost 20 million on this declaration, and a lot of people they were recovered in agreeing with these funds too. So in short, I will not take you any more time. In short, we are an option, and we are here. So you can help us to reach the most people as possible. If you can help us sharing the information through social media, your website, and that's why we came to inform everything. And the last thing, some people, they move from different counties or cities or towns to different states or counties. You might have people here from Vermont or people here with families in Vermont. That is not only for businesses here or for some non-profits. We are a melting pot here in the United States, so that's why I came here for all those reasons to help and assist the people.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good information. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, informationals. Main Street Fire Hydrant relocation. Paul?
So, at some point in time during the parking discussion, there was conversation about possibly removing the hydrants that are on the sides of the road, in front of, well, just down from Lake Sunapee Bank, and then in front of the Opera House. I had Joe Branch, our water superintendent, do some research, and they had actually previously found, you might think that the line goes straight across the street from one to the other, but it does not. It actually comes in from the north, and then comes down across. So the proposal would be to cut the line at the center strip. It would probably happen in the parking section, because I think the granite curbs are really tight there. I don't think I'd want to try and get a backhoe in the middle there. So we go down the western strip through the parking area, and then go down to essentially in front of the Opera House. I think it could play. Would need to define where we would want to be, but I showed it in one of the triangles from the where the parallel parking comes into the crosswalk.
Right.
So once we find that spot or determine that spot, we'd place that hydrant there. Talking to the staff, they would probably then put flowable fill in the existing lines and cut the hydrants, remove the hydrants and cut them, and then that would be ready when the state comes through in the spring to pave and would be done. Talking to the crew, they could do it, but they're not heavily staffed right now. They felt it would be best if we brought in a contractor. So I would have some specs drawn up for it, and we would get a price for that, if the board would like to see that happen.
Jeff?
As far as location goes, I know that right there is one of the antique light posts is right there in that spot. Also, I did observe that the other hydrant that's in the center island is located up near the water fountain, so it's in the larger area there, so it keeps out of parking spaces. And I would think that it would be preferable, even if it meant a little more work pulling the curbing out, to bring it down to the larger spot on the north side of Main Street, where we cannot impact any parking spaces. It's also a little bit bigger in there, and we're going to be closing in that crosswalk there anyways. If we could maybe possibly place it there instead. I assume that this line here is a line that runs down here.
That's correct.
That then you could just tee off that down here, possibly, and go into there. Then it would impact no parking spaces, and also that light post, which is a historic light post. So we're not having to relocate that. Because on the other side is a historic marker showing something about Newport.
Yep. The question is there a hydrant down in front of the district court?
No, I don't think so.
So that would help provide something for there.
Well, no, I was thinking that there was something down in that area, and it would be duplicated. I mean, this was nice because it was halfway. We can put it wherever you want.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's not too far down. It's just a little bit bigger of an area in
question.
there.
Yeah, no
And
question.
just a thought. I don't know if
Any
anyone
other
else.
comments from the board?
Yep. Go ahead.
Just my question would be, has Chief Yanuzzi weighed in on his preferred idea for a location? Because maybe if the district court doesn't have one, he might have other options that we may want to consider for placement that might be either one easier, two more suited, and less impactful. So
Yeah, I will need to take it back to him. What we talked about was putting one in the center strip and eliminating the second two, and kind of making it in the middle of the two. So we didn't talk about relocating it further down.
I think it would be important to talk about.
Yeah.
Jeff, you had a comment?
Yeah, I know from previous conversations, we have two hydrants that are sort of in the parking areas.
Right.
And Chief Unuzi felt we only needed one there. But do we need to actually run a line all the way out to the center and put it in between? Just pull one out and move the other one back so it's not in the street. And that way, I mean, if they had to, they'd run their hoses across the street. You may have to close both sides of the street there, but you generally do that if you're having any sort of fire anyway. I mean, the fire hoses are long enough to reach across the street.
Right.
Versus the cost of relocating to the center.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about putting it in the center is it gets them out of both roadway clearing and sidewalk clearing.
some way to improve coverage too.
In a way, I mean, they'd have access from both sides.
Mhm.
I can talk to the chief. I can have him come in if we want to talk about it more.
Okay.
That would be good.
I can say that it definitely the snow piling around them in the winter is substantial, and in many cases, I would say it would take a pickaxe at best to get to the fire hydrants in the winter when they're on the sidewalk. They are not dug out; they're well under. But the one that's down here by the water fountain is much more exposed and accessible.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we'll be. This is informational, so we're going to take action. We'll move it at another meeting to the action item. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Community Power Coalition update. Jeff.
As the representative, I have to say that I did sit through a rather long and arduous meeting that I think that I will choose not to do that again. A lot of these meetings are more about their board and everything that they're doing and not much about what we're doing. So I did have a meeting. Sorry, I don't have my notes out yet. Just a phone conversation, Paul, with the same gentleman that you spoke with, which was Henry Herndon, and he has, I believe, presented you with all the paperwork and applications that are necessary, along with links on the websites for what we need to fill out. Once that is done, when we've done that, then he will come in and give more of an informational of what the stages are that we need to do to get on board. Once we're on board, it's about 4 months, I believe, before we would be in the cycle. And that's about it. It's not really all that hard from our end. All the big meetings they have are really just, they're brutal. Those 4 hours of I don't even know what they were talking about. All their minutes and all the things they're doing to build their larger community and stuff. So they do send them, and I do check them out, but it's a lot. So I don't think this is all that complex. I mean, maybe you can add to this from your conversation with him?
Yeah, no, just I'm waiting to hear back from him. The information that has to go to the PUC for the open comment period. There are 2 pieces of information that I think we need added on there, and I'm waiting to hear back from them, and then we will get that off. Okay. No, it isn't really arduous on our part.
No, not too much.
And then we need somebody to look at the community agreement. I need to reach out to other communities that are members and see if we can use an attorney who's read one of these documents before instead of having our attorney going cold. So I'm working on finding that firm to do the legal review for us.
Okay.
I'm guessing with all that you're taking on, that sometimes it's another thing. You know, so I don't really know, as my being, the committee member for this, what you need for help from me. I feel like that other than the emails that he's given us and the links for signing up, that there wasn't much else at this time that I could be helpful with, and you feel the same?
You sitting through the meeting and not me, this is perfect.
Good.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
We all do.
Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, one comment. If I remember right, new communities come on in April.
Correct.
Mhm.
So whatever we need to do, we need to either be ready so our citizens have the opportunity this coming April of 2024, or we would have to go another whole cycle until 2025.
That is correct.
And my discussions with him is we are in a nice timing right now. We're not under much pressure right now, and it'll be good timing.
But all of a sudden, that 4 months that they need kind of to get it
Yeah.
going is like, you have no pressure until you do have pressure.
So Jeff, you're going to continue to monitor this.
I will continue to
and,
monitor that.
Alert us to.
With Paul, I guess we'll be back and forth about this too.
Okay.
I
Good.
agree.
All right. Next one, wastewater treatment plant. Jeff.
So Paul and I have been going back and forth a little bit about the wastewater treatment plant, and some of it is that, in general, I like to know what's going on and whether I missed out on that in all the meetings that were had here, before my time, and outside of deliberative. I think it's a complex issue. It is very concerning to me in terms of the expense that it brings to not only our businesses but to our citizens, particularly the very large water users. And I think the largest water user made a big donation tonight. I think the increase that people are expected to pay is way beyond what people in general may understand it to be. It is a lot of money. I don't know what that means other than I've never seen anything like it. And I am in the business of using water, owning laundromats in 5 different communities. So I know what rates are. I did look into the rates all around New Hampshire. This isn't even in the ballpark of what rates are or should be. You know, we're heading towards, upwards of, $40 per thousand. It would be more like 35 to 36 in that range. While we're right now, floating around, about 13 with $12.90. So that is just enormous. All the other communities are running, in the vicinity of $10 per thousand, and without getting into a lot of specifics about what that means for someone outside of businesses that can be largely impacted. For an individual user, that's a shower out without even considering the cost of heat to heat your hot water would be $1.25 for a standard 10-minute shower with giving some time to warm up your water, get up to your place. It's a lot, and I don't know that anything can be done about it. But I just know that I was surprised when I spoke to you previously when I had amortized this. I did a whole sort of this little study on the billing. That I didn't understand because I did. If you guys just want to look at these, I just did a little bit of. I got one for Paul too. Paul, I'm sure you've crunched these numbers a million times too. But I tallied up. Paul was kind enough to give me an Excel spreadsheet, and I was able to tally out the amount of units via the gallons of usage in Newport. And we used in 2021 71,671 gallons of sewage processed. So you divided that by 1,000, and so I turned that to units at 71,671 units at once again at the 10,000 gallons per unit. Paul, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this math here. So I tallied this at a $10,000 bond at 1.5% interest over 30 years, with a monthly billing of $34,512 a month, or $414,000 per year. So, and with an increase of approximately $24 per 1,000 gallons, and then at the 71,671 units times the 24, came to $1,720,104. And so that would be the increase that we'd be expecting on top of the $1,290 that we're already paying. So then, if you back off the bond, that came into an additional $1,305,963 in yearly revenue. So, I guess in that my question is that what it takes extra to run this plant, and do we really know? And if we don't really know, how do we know, and how do we find out what it's going to cost in extra revenue to run, I guess, what is now considered sequential batch reactors, which is, from what I have researched and then spoken to John Adey from New Hampshire DES, who is helpful, who you may have or may have not spoken to, but he's well familiar with what we've done in the past, what we're doing now, is sort of like the gold standard of sewage processing plants, possibly over the top. Like looking at what may come down the road in 20 or 30 years with removing various other things. Now, that doesn't mean that it isn't a good idea, but I know that Sunapee is running a activated sludge, which seems to take care of their problem. We're running lagoons right now, which aren't adequate, but I guess don't cost that much money to process. So really, I guess my question is this: is there a time that we dig in a little deeper. And I don't know how much you've dug into the actual operating cost of this, what it will be in terms of electricity, what we're offsetting in solar, and what the things we can do to help to maybe mitigate some of these expenses that, we don't prefer to hand Rugers a $330,000 additional sewage bill. At least I don't think so. Maybe that doesn't matter to them. Maybe it does. I know for my business it matters to me. I know that people, what's the, not the retirement home, but the assisted living on top of the hill? Here.
Woodbridge?
What?
Woodbridge? Is that what it is?
Woodlawn.
Woodlawn.
Woodlawn is like at $1.2 million. So in terms of gallons, that's a $35,000 increase in their billing. That's like, those are real numbers, and it's a concern of mine at any rate. And I don't know if this board cares to maybe form another committee that could maybe meet with the manufacturers of this product and see where those expenses really lie. I mean, you handed me a 500-600 page engineering document that I was just like cross-eyed on. That's more than I can. I'd rather speak to someone who can explain it because they understand it, and they can say, yeah, well, I know. Say you take a motor. The thing, all I know about motors is that when I have an older washing machine and that runs on a regular 3-phase motor, that's different than a modern setup. And I don't know what we have now, but when you run on a variable frequency drive motor, they run way more efficient. So is the new treatment plant more efficient than the old one? Because maybe we're not running VFD drives. All I'm saying is that we owe it to the citizens of this community to provide accurate information to them in terms of what may lie in their future, because it feels bleak to me. And that is not just in light of this, that's in light of electric bills that have doubled, fuel bills that are through the roof, interest rates that have gone up, food that has gone up. And at some point, people hit the limit of their economic ability to be able to pay bills any longer. And I mean, I guess you would know by the amount of tax liens on people's properties where that's headed, or if we generally look good, or if we don't look good, where people sit. But that's a pretty good economic indicator of where people are in terms of their finances. And kind of breaks my heart, to see this. And some of it is also that there's no escape from it. Because once it happens, you can't just say, I'm going to use less water. Because if everyone says, I'm going to use less water, well, then the number has to go up. So you just say, okay, well, now we have to charge $45 per thousand. So there is no escaping it, unlike heat or electricity where you can say, I'm going to turn off the lights, or I'm going to shut those rooms off, or you can mitigate that, but you can't do the water. It will always come back because it has to, the community, the town has to recoup that money one way or another. So this is a permanent 30-year plus thing that we're coming into, and it's not our fault. This is the EPA, and they have laid down these guidelines. But I would personally like to be part of a conversation with the manufacturer and with the state, who seem to be very receptive to conversations, and we enjoyed speaking to each other to see if we can get some accurate numbers, unless you have them, unless you're sure of what you have in terms of electricity and additives, if you're positive that $1.3 million is about right.
Well, I can just, the only two adjustments I'd make. So you had the $10 million bond, the 99999 that we approved at town meeting.
Yeah.
Was our second bond. We also have a $4.5 million bond that was approved in 2018 that will also be paid back. So I think your 414 is probably 6 and change. And then the estimated increase in operating expenses was about $650,000 a year. So those two pieces would probably narrow your $1.3 million, but I'd need to look at the numbers
Right.
a little closer. But those are two changes I do know of.
Is the one that was approved for the $4 million, is that not part of the current water and sewage rate? Is that not being
It is
paid
not,
on
no.
currently?
Not yet.
So, on a $30 million project, and was not $20 million coming from the state?
About 15 million from the state and 14 million from the town.
40 million from the town. I know that John had said that it should be the responsibility of the engineering firm to find possible additional funds that are available. He thinks there's a lot of federal money available for this. Are you any aware of whether that is or is not available?
Yeah, so we have I'm going to give you a round number, 6.5 million coming from USDA rural development, which is the largest grant given to the state of New Hampshire in years, if ever. We have a $4 million bill by bipartisan infrastructure legislation money coming, and then we have state revolving loan fund 30% forgiveness on our share of the loan bonds that we'll be repaying. So we do have those three. The biggest issue right now is with USDA. Every dollar that we get in additional grants beyond those three, and also we had $1.9 million as a congressional appropriation. Every dollar we get beyond that right now, they will reduce our grant from USDA. One of the things that we know is out there is the Long Island Sound Initiative. There's up to $1 million grant that last year I was told we would be perfect for with this project. But like I say, I can't get it right now. I need to get it after we sign the USDA paperwork. So there are some other things that we will look at. We're also looking at some emergency generator, because the emergency generator on this is probably almost $500,000. So we will be looking at other grants and things, but because of the order of USDA, we have to be careful of that, which is unfortunate. The other thing I'd say, on Monday, we have an all-day workshop with USDA, NHDES. I don't know if somebody's coming from EPA or not. The town and the engineer. USDA and the state have concerns that we may not be buying enough stuff, and that they might like to see a third bay of the SBR. Right now we're only proposing 2 and using Lagoon 2 as a stabilization if there's a large influx of flooding or a large rain event. So it's going to be an interesting balance. The state is looking out for our best interest and making sure the system works, but it's just an addition of money. So the engineer is looking out for us, trying to give us the best system that will work for what we can afford. So it's going to be an interesting day on Monday, trying to balance those two.
And that will have an additional
Additional
operating
days
costs.
give you, what, $6 million?
Yeah, I've downgraded to probably 4, but
Still a lot of money.
it still is a lot of money. But in their defense, the question is cleaning, because right now the plan is to, if you've got 2 bays, take one offline, clean one, and then vice versa. But there's concern in the state, in operations in the state, that isn't working very well, so they're having 3, take one offline, having 2 run, and then you just keep alternating that way. So you always have 2 running. It's
I would think that's going to be a part of the discussion that takes place.
I do think that's going to be part of the discussion that take place, and the DES is well knows very well that I'm going to be sitting there and saying, "What? We agree.
Give us money.
Right.
Who's paying for it? Because we can't afford it." So it will be an interesting. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just had a quick question about the generator. Unless it's being used to generate power on a regular basis, it sits there and does nothing for long periods of time. Why does it possibly need to be replaced? How old is it? How many hours are on it?
So the concern isn't replacing the current one. The current one was replaced in, looking at Jim, because he was, I don't think he was chief. So, but he was in the department. It was probably replaced in the late 90s. But the current one is the problem. It's the addition of the new operating equipment that's going to be a huge energy draw. The current one isn't big enough.
It's not big enough. Okay. Thank you.
Barry?
Go ahead, Jeff. Thank you.
With DES or whoever talking about needing a 3rd bay now, the whole time we were looking at the proposal that we took to town meeting and got approval for with 2 bays, they were right alongside us saying this is what we need. And now that we've been to town meeting, we've convinced the people this is what everyone says you need, for them to come back in and say, well, you know, you need to invest another $4 million in it to make us happy. And it's my personal feeling is, fine, hand us the $4 million and we'll do it. You know, I mean, we've been working with them right along on this and with the USDA, but for after the vote to come in and say, you know,
Yeah, I
Then
think,
change their mind.
well, I think what changed their mind or got them thinking was July. The amount of water
Sure,
that
yeah.
we passed and other systems passed through their operating systems, I think it scared them. I think it concerns them greatly. Let me say, I won't say scared them. I think it concerns them greatly that plants have to have the capacity to process or hold back and then process water. The other thing that may come of this is we may get a recommendation that we pull sludge out of Lagoon 2 to create more capacity in the lagoon. That's not $4 million for a new SBR, a third SBR bay, but it's money. It's real money. So I don't know where it's all going to go, but I know that we are a focus, and Monday will be an interesting day.
And I think we have to hold the line. I mean, this town is, you know, even part of what Jeff said is true. We're
We're
a
asking a
pickle.
lot.
okay. Yes, Jeff.
We also had 2 different public hearings from the engineer that presented to the town, that spoke in depth about the materials we were using, the sourcing of those materials, and why those were better systems, more economic systems than others because of the availability of the processes by which the stuff was going to be handled. So it wasn't a matter of where we're getting a system that was going to be Taj Mahal's system, but something that was going to work, be sustainable, based on proven track record. And we didn't want to go down the same rabbit hole before of an unproven system.
Right.
So hearing that from the engineer in that whole process was, at least from my perspective, reassuring. So that we weren't going to be getting into something that we didn't know, or that was going to be unexpected, great expenditures. So.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Paul, did we change engineering firms on this project at some point?
We've changed engineering firms.
Not from the original one, but
Yes.
in the last couple of years, did we
We
find
changed.
someone was sort of dragging their feet, or?
No, we changed 2 years ago. So through the lawsuit, we had an engineering firm that was performing as our experts, that was selected through a QBS qualified base system. They came back with a system that might have been an activated sludge. I forget what it was. It was not an SBR, and the state said, no way, what you're talking about isn't really feasible. And go back to the drawing board. At that point in time, we had conversations with the state about whether we should change horses or not, and we did. We did another QBS, and we selected the firm that we have now, who came highly recommended from DES, and they felt we had the right team in place now, moving forward.
What deadlines are we operating under?
The only deadline we're operating under right now is we are at 60% drawings, and that's what the state has reviewed and has questions on, and the feds have reviewed and have questions on. The next phase is 90% drawings, which are due December 1st, and then final drawings were supposed to be due, and bid package was supposed to be out at the end of January, early February, for a spring bid and hopefully a March or April groundbreaking. We can get some shovels and have some fun. The plan was to start building this summer. So we are under order from the EPA. We are to be operating in compliance by September of 26. No, I'm sorry. We need to have the federal dollars spent by September of 26. We are supposed to be operational December of 25, I believe, off the top of my head.
Is that due to the certificate being?
The permit and The AO, the administrative order from the EPA.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not from the EPA, it's from the state. The EPA delegated our case to the state.
So what is it they were saying about the activated sludge, that it did not meet the standards?
I can't say it was activated. I need to ask that
Yeah.
question.
Jeff?
Two things. I mean, right now, I believe we approved like $900 or $1 million to get the drawings done for this.
Our current contract is we're working on $1.5 million contract.
Right, which will produce the 90% drawings.
Goes to bid, I think. So 100% drawings and bid package.
Right, but here we are doing up a bunch of expensive drawings based upon a 2-bay system.
Yeah.
And we have someone that may say, well, you know, make it 3-bay. That's sort of like, who's going to pay for throwing out those drawings and starting over again? And you mentioned that the current engineering firm we have came highly recommended from the state. But didn't the first firm that we ended up suing also come that way from the state?
No.
No?
They did not opine at that point in time.
Oh, okay.
The
You mean
first
the
time-
state did not comment on it?
They did not. They
Okay.
did not apply. I mean, it is the third largest or second largest
Yep.
engineering firm in the world, and I know they do a lot of work over for Portsmouth and some other cities and towns that have done a great job. Question as to whether we got the double 18.
So you talked to the engineer about this new facility the state is proposing?
I have not. On my list is to call him and just figure out before we sit down with the state. I want to get an estimate.
Yeah, I
of
was
what-
gonna
what
say,
they
I think we
the
need
cost
to-
would be.
Have a discussion with him in regards to that.
I'm really hoping that we can come to some working compromise and make that the point of Monday, not
Yeah.
Monday them saying this.
Leave it the way it is, or give us the money.
Is that open, that meeting?
It's not open, but if you'd like to sit in, as a
Okay.
board rep, certainly.
What time is
Go ahead,
that?
Yeah, another comment about the rains we had this summer. I mean, a lot of that was because basically stormwater got mixed in with our sewer system. And shouldn't there be an effort to try to keep those two separate so that doesn't happen like that? And haven't the Fed stepped up in other places? Like, I think Lebanon's done a
So-
large upgrade to separate that stuff.
Yeah, so that's an MS4 town, I think they're called. We actually don't have commingled systems.
Okay.
Well, our problem is I&I, infiltration and inflow.
Okay.
From bad pipes. We saw an improvement when we did first, second, third, fourth. But you still have Spring Street that's a sieve, the lower section. We have some problems. We're doing a lot of pipe repair and pipe lining to try and eliminate I&I. And as part of our administrative order from the feds, that's one of the things that we're supposed to address. But we do still get a lot of that. And then the other thing is just rainfall. Just the rain coming down into the lagoon takes capacity that isn't coming through a pipe, it's coming in natural. There isn't a huge watershed there, but you've got several acres of pond, essentially. It's just taking 6 inches of water. Takes 6 inches of water.
So wouldn't it almost make more sense if the state wants to spend an extra $4 million instead of putting in a third pond or tank, put that into fixing the infiltration problem?
Yeah, again, I don't disagree.
Because we're talking about
Good idea.
occasional storms, like once or twice a year maybe.
If even.
Or all
Yeah.
summer.
I'm hoping that this was a 500-year summer, but I'm betting it's not.
We seem to have those every 3 years.
Yeah, we are having those every 3 years. Yeah, the I&I is a big money though. I mean, we spent $1.3 million in sewer funds only up on First, Second, Third, Fourth Streets.
Right, but that's where it'd be nice to have some federal assistance to address
Yeah.
the real problem.
Yeah, we have got state assistance
State.
up there. We've got a 30% forgiveness on that loan.
Right.
But yeah, it's
State
not,
should-
So at this point, I'd like to have this, you're meeting Monday?
we're meeting Monday. Yes.
Monday, and Jeff, you're going to...
What time?
It's an all-day meeting.
I think it's 9 all day.
Could you put this on
Where?
for the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Under informational? Because I don't want to vote on the night that we're getting all this information. So.
Where's that meeting?
That is starting upstairs, and then we'll be headed to the plant.
So, this building.
You make
I'm gonna try, yeah,
Good,
at
good,
least
good.
in the morning.
Yeah. All right.
Before you move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to say, if the two of you can spend some time there, I think it's important, because I've noticed that the meetings I sat in on with USDA, having an elected representative there versus just the hired help. You know, you guys represent the people, and you can speak as their representative, and I think it may carry more weight than just Paul or such presenting our case for us. So, just my 2
Agreed.
cents on that.
Good. It's a weighty issue, though.
It is, no question.
All right. Next one, miscellaneous town equipment, including street sweeper. Jeff?
Not Jeff, no.
No, you.
I know what you're saying. So I just I noticed that our street just never got swept this year, and it's always a problem. I noticed in the winter as those piles of leaves and sand and stuff that have accumulated, they tend to not want to move very well with plows, etc. And if the street sweeper ever did get repaired and if it's operational, and if we're going to clean that off of our streets, if that, I understood that was broken down at the beginning of the season, and where do we stand with the rest of our equipment in terms of how we're heading into winter, and are we good with all of our sidewalk cleaning, snow removal equipment at this time?
So the street sweeper is running now. It was down at the beginning. I think it does have a water issue that they've been trying to address. They did use it just before the Apple Pie Craft Festival just to try and clean up the downtown a little bit. And I know there's talk about doing a little paving job, and they'll be using it there. So it is running, but there was not a dedicated sweeping program this summer. I think it was probably also staffing, but I wasn't really part of that at that point in time. So I don't know that it's surplus. I think, like I say, I believe it is running. It's not mothballed right now. So that is running. My understanding is the sidewalk tractors, the new one is running and is operational and ready to go. The older one is a backup and will stay that way. But it is running, but it's not as effective on the sidewalks as we'd like. And they're starting to get trucks ready to go. We've had different breakdowns and things in the fleet. They will be starting to get sanded ready and everything in the next few weeks.
So I just note on the street sweeping once again that they definitely didn't do Main Street for Apple Pie. I'm just telling you that it's not a little bit of sand and debris. It's a lot. So I'm not always so sure that it's a beautification issue, but more that I just know personally when I have to try to hit parts of Main Street because it's not getting plowed and I have to do it, it's just this. That stuff is hard, and you can't, once that happens, it's bermed, you can't really get in with your plows and right into that curbing. So if there's an occasion to maybe hit the downtown parking areas where that is accumulating before winter comes, that it would be possibly beneficial to the winter season to have that gone.
All set with that, Paul?
Yeah, and I might have misspoken. I know they did it around the common.
Okay.
But you're going to take some action on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Combining Heritage Commission with Monuments and Memorials Committee. I guess we have a vote. Oh, no. It's information.
So this is something that we've talked about for some time, that those boards commingle in areas of responsibility and coverage area and scope, and especially in the time and age where it is harder and harder to get people to volunteer to sit on boards, that it make more sense that we become more efficient in our operation, and by joining these groups, it makes us exactly that the areas overlap, and it makes a ton of sense to me, at least. I'm sure the chairman, Mr. Irwin, would love to opine on that.
Sure, and that they would also engage with the historic district folks as well, because the purposes are identical in one way. The Monuments and Memorials Committee is really designed to make sure that what people offer or what the town chooses to do is appropriately placed and not in the middle of the common or the middle of some other area that would necessarily not enhance the beauty of the town. And because the volunteers are thin on the ground, we really think it's a unified effort under the umbrella of the Heritage Commission, and then a group would be responsible for if somebody requested a monument or a memorial. We, to my knowledge, haven't had any requests lately. And then any activity in the specific historic district would also be wrapped into that effort.
Were each of these commissions adopted at a town meeting?
Yes, the Heritage Commission and the monuments
So
and
would we
memorials
have to go back to the town to accomplish this?
I don't think so. I think you can, as a board, combine the work of them.
Well, to me it makes sense, but I
The
don't want somebody to come later
Monuments
and
and
say,
Memorials Committee was appointed, and then an ordinance was created.
You okay with that, Paul? Good. So this is an information, we'll take no action on this tonight, but thank you for that information, both of you.
Right.
I believe that we can have for the board to review the outline of
Scope of work.
the scope of work that's done by both in one document showing the two boards and how they would be broken down separate. So we could have that for review in the next packet and hopefully add it as an action item.
Right, because then you could attest to agreeing to that's the
Yep.
scope of the
Good.
work. The Heritage Commission is governed by state statute, so.
Okay. All right,
And
Jeff?
go ahead, Jeff.
is that something that you'll be working on the next Heritage Commission meeting, so that is,
That document already exists, so
Right.
we can certainly get that to the board.
so that's not any work for us to be.
Nope.
No,
Need to do.
it's,
Okay, I'm just-
it's been taken care of. We're combining the scope.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
And for your next department head meeting, Christina could share with you that document. She
Okay.
has it. So if you ask her to forward that to you, Paul, that might be the easiest way to get that, to share it back with us.
Okay. Do you want that on the 2nd or on the 16th?
Whatever makes most sense given the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, figure out where you're lighter,
We're later,
which
correct.
appears to be never, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you both.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Airport Advisory Board. You,
Rick, were you going to speak?
I hadn't planned to.
Oh, okay.
I
So-
will if necessary.
No, I can.
well, we did receive a letter.
Right, you have a letter
It's
from
fairly self-explanatory.
the Airport Advisory
Yeah.
Board.
Yeah, that
Um,
their concern being what types of activities take place. I think you outlined,
I think I can distill that very simply. It's
okay,
the non-aeronautical commercial use of the airport.
right, that's the one you want to
That
have
is- that-
stopped.
That simply doesn't work at any kind of airport, whether it's a federally non-obligated airport, Part 139 airport, or a municipal airport.
Much like the skid school we had this.
Yeah,
so,
that simply doesn't work.
okay.
The uses are, there are a number of reasons why.
Yeah.
It would take a half an hour to explain them
Yeah,
all. I'm not-
but you did, I thought the letter was fairly self-explanatory. Go ahead, Jeff.
So are we talking about the events like when you said the Run What You Brung, and or the car show that they have down by
Wings and Wheels.
Wings and Wheels? Is that in that particular what you're thinking
No,
of?
those are town sponsored
Sponsored.
events,
Right.
Okay.
and we've treated them differently in the past. In fact, we've gone out of our way to treat them differently and make sure that they can't happen.
Okay.
I think if we become a federally obligated airport, you're going to see a radical change there. I don't think it's going to be possible, in spite of what some people have said. I don't see it elsewhere, and that's why I suggest that. But
So those are okay. So what kind of events are we talking about that you don't want?
they're
Restaurants?
commercial. In other words, if you come with a fistful of dollars, you can rent the airport for whatever purpose for a period of time, and that simply doesn't work.
Paul?
So for this year, 2023, we had an agreement with the Stevens Driving School. which works with our insurance carrier Primex. And they offer a skid school, a driving school for municipal employees through Primex. And they also have the Stevens Driving School, and you can bring teenagers in and privately. So we had an agreement with them. I think that there are 2 more events this year that we have are part of the agreement. I don't know that that's a written agreement, but we did make that commitment. I believe somebody signed me up for driving school at the end of the month, or the middle of October, I think.
Skid school?
Skid school.
Good
Fun
class.
actually.
I've never done it,
I've done
but so I would like to see us honor those commitments for this year, and really it would be a question of going into next year. I know it was seen as a way to generate some income for the airport, but I also understand the ramifications and the
And there were some
problems
issues
with the airport.
this year, personally.
And then just going back to one runway brung, that was ended back in the early 10s, and it was primarily an insurance issue. But also, as town manager at the time, I hated it because even with a waiver, I signed a waiver, I'm going through. Joey goes through with his 68 Chevy that drops a nut halfway down, and then Jimmy goes through the next one and he catches that nut and he's off there. There's no, I mean, if it's a clean runway and you've signed the liability to get down, that's one thing, but you don't know what part or piece may be there, and so I was always against the runway run. I know it's a great fundraiser, but and it also turned into a liability issue.
Any questions from the board regarding this? Concerns, comments?
Just
Go ahead, Jeff.
one comment, if I remember right, one of the last times the skid school was here, they used the runway, but there was no NOTAM issued on
And I was
for
gonna
that
say,
day.
there's a problem with the NOTAM system, and that snowballed into further problems.
Yeah.
The first
Right.
event.
Right, but I mean, on that event, we had a tenant at the airport complain about it because, there was no NOTAM notifying that the runway was being used for other events that got posted.
And that resulted in a conflict with a couple of inbound airplanes.
Right. So that is something which is not the fault of the skid school, but the fact that we did not properly notice the condition of the airport for that day.
And in part, that was part of the fault of the NOTAM system.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Paul, did you have more to say?
No.
Okay, this is informational, so we'll make no decisions tonight, but I'm sure that in the future we'll be revisiting this.
We will.
Okay. All right, action items. Authorize changing School Street from one-way traffic between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's currently between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. So this is a request from the school that we extend that one-way traffic for 1 hour daily.
Okay. Chief Lee is here too.
Chief?
Good evening. And there are 2 issues, only one of which will require action, but I'll give you sort of an FYI on the other related issue. As far as School Street, Richards used to dismiss a little bit earlier in the afternoon prior to 3 p.m.
Right.
so they could finish their dismissal by 3 p.m. Now they dismiss at 3 p.m. They're also using a new dismissal system this year to enhance accountability of making sure that the right child is getting in the right car, which the first couple days of the school year took extra time. They've got their system down now, and it's going very efficiently. But still, the dismissal takes until about 3:20, maybe a few stragglers up to 3:30 in the afternoon. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to have the one-way restriction end at 3 p.m. right at the moment that all the kids are coming out of the building. So I think the minimal disruption to the residents on School Street while maintaining the safety of this system would be to extend it until 4 p.m.
Have citizens on that street been notified and had a chance to discuss it?
Not regarding the change from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. They've been heavily involved in the discussion about this new dismissal system that's been going on this year. And as I said, there were a couple inefficiencies the first couple days because the staff, the students, the parents. It was all new to all of them. But the amount of time that it's taken each day has dropped. And now, the last day that I was there watching it only took 18 minutes from 3 to 3:18 p.m. to get the entire dismissal process done. So they've got it down to a clockwork now. But due to the width of that roadway, you have the parents who are lined up parking, waiting for their child on one side. And then when a child gets in a car that's in that line, they need to be able to go around to vacate the area, and there would not be room for oncoming traffic.
Paul?
So, the action that we would be looking for tonight, I believe this as an ordinance change, you need to have a public hearing on this.
Okay.
So I think the action would be to direct us to have a public hearing on our next meeting, which would give the residents of the road to a chance to opine if they have issues,
Good.
and move forward from there.
Because there's a lot, but the residents of that street ought to be some sort of a letter just advising of the proposed change and whatever date we set for the hearing.
Good. Jeff?
Since we currently have kids leaving school at 3 o'clock, is there any way we can, through like an emergency ordinance or something, temporarily post it to 4 o'clock right away, since it's an existing condition, and then make a determination on permanence after the hearing?
Go ahead, Jim. You have
So-
an answer to that?
If the chief wanted to detail somebody there as a traffic issue, he could do so and could control it that way as he sees fit by statute. He could do that. The ordinance, though, would have to take effect, but if we wanted to control the people turning right onto that street after 3 o'clock, now until we change it, would have to be, a body would have to be there to do it.
Okay.
Chief, go ahead, Jeff.
Is there any reason why to stop confusion on this at all? It's just to make it a one-way street, period, and not have it, I mean, it's a good portion of the day anyways, many days of the week, and it's not hard to get around. There's plenty of side streets to come into those roads, and one-way streets are not an uncommon thing in most of the world.
That's the option that the school district would certainly prefer, but I think we were trying to be cognizant of, you know, any negative opinions on that from local residents that would be affected. So we were trying to come up with the most narrow, least impactful change at this time to accomplish our needs without causing too much discontent in the neighborhood.
I think small steps are a good thing. So,
I seem to think permanent right-of-way. What? Wow. Permanent
Runways?
one-way. No, it doesn't.
Airport's over.
Was discussed years ago and vehemently opposed by the residents.
If this is a concern, it seems to me you waiting 2 weeks to hold a public hearing is a bit short-sighted. You should hold it next week. I mean, if this is a problem for kids and parents, this isn't something that can wait.
I was about thinking the same thing. What are we doing today?
Yeah, so since the beginning of the school year, I have directed the SRO to try to be up at Richards monitoring this situation on the days that he can. You know, I don't have the patrol staff to dedicate an officer to that street for, you know, an hour or two every single afternoon. The day that I was up there, no cars did go up the wrong way, up the one way, you know, even after 3 p.m. But we're just trying to be sort of more forward-looking.
sort of a conundrum, the fact that, let's say, heaven forbid, something does happen as a result of not having that done. You know, that's a major issue. So I don't disagree with Vinnie. We better do something sooner than later with that process.
You only need whatever it is to post an ordinance, 48 hours.
48 hours.
I mean, public hearing,
I would think that you need
5 days later or something.
Yeah, I would think that for a public hearing you would have. This isn't actually. I guess I'd need to read the ordinance structure, but I think if we posted tomorrow for a public hearing next Monday, if you want to meet next Monday, we could certainly do that.
Pleasure of the board.
Next Monday's rough. It's going to be the water and sewer all day long.
I'm sure I'll be done by 3:30.
Okay. That's 3 hours of time.
I just gotta check the calendar for a second.
There's a scheduling conflict for this room next Monday. Heritage Commission meets.
We can
On the
find another
25th.
place.
Or we could meet earlier in the day if we can get a quorum.
I imagine
Well,
the public
you don't
I mean,
want
for
to
a
meet
hearing,
earlier in
you
the
want-
day.
you
You
want-
want the
You want
public
to have
to come.
public here.
Yeah.
This does fall within that district, so maybe we could just have a joint
We
meeting.
could do it together because it's
Joint
all
meeting.
part of the same place.
Correct.
exactly.
Are you guys 6:30?
We are. But we
So-
can meet up in the upstairs place, or we
I
can
would-
meet downstairs.
I would guess this public hearing would be, you could do
Short.
5:45 or 6 o'clock and be
Do it for
not far
6.
behind it.
Do it for 6.
Yeah,
I'd be my
yeah,
my
I-
voice would be to say 6.
6.
Sure.
I won't be able to make that.
Oh, you gotta work at some point.
Yeah, I gotta go to work someday.
I might be 5 to 10 minutes late for that meeting. I'll be.
So you'll be able to see us all leave.
So next Monday, 6 Paul, you're gonna post tomorrow?
Yep.
Thank you.
And then if I could just bring the related issue to your attention.
Sure.
I spoke with Mr. Godwin from the bus barn regarding the short end of Laurel Street that goes behind Dunkin' Donuts. There are cars that are parking on the sides of Laurel Street, but right near the Maple Street intersection within that first 20 or 30 feet. And when one particular school bus that has to pick up disabled children is trying to turn from Maple Street onto Laurel, if there are cars parked there, they're not able to make that turn, and it's causing a traffic and safety issue. The state statute 265-69 on parking already says that you cannot park within 20 feet of a crosswalk that is located at an intersection. So no vehicles should be parking on those first 20 feet of Laurel Street off of the Maple Street intersection. But there are no signs that say no parking. I don't think people are familiar with the statute. So to give us, the ability to enforce that, I was just going to ask the highway department to post signs on those first 20 feet of Laurel Street saying no parking from here to corner. So I don't believe that will require any action from the board because it's already covered under state
You
statute.
could paint an orange thing up there too.
But just in case you guys,
There's a curve there.
some people may see
yeah.
new signs and think that this is a new policy. And so I just wanted you to be aware
Okay,
that this is
good.
simply trying to get people to follow
Appreciate
the
that.
existing law.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ambulance purchase. Paul?
Okay, so at town meeting, we approved an ambulance purchase at $300,000 to be funded, $180,000 through capital reserve withdrawal, $60,000 in donation, and $60,000 in current property taxes, for a total of $300,000. The quote for the actual purchase of the ambulance came in at $344,078, which leaves us short. We have about $12,000 in an old ambulance donations fund that's been sitting around for years, leaving a net shortfall of just over $32,000. The issue with this is right now we're in the queue for the ambulance. The salesperson put it in on a no sign basis, knowing that if we didn't take it, somebody else would take this ambulance. The lead time on the ambulance is about 18 months. Which will put it into the 24-25 budget. Annually for the last 6 years, we've been putting $60,000 a year away for an ambulance. I think that number probably needs to be increased based on the current price that we're looking at. And we will also be applying for a USDA grant, a community facilities grant for this, which could be up to $50,000. But I'm requesting that we accept the potential for a $32,000 shortfall currently, but that would be covered by the time we actually have to write the check in the 24-25 budget to be able to sign the contract and order the ambulance.
They're looking for us for a commitment.
They're looking for a written
And if
commitment.
we don't commit, somebody else is going to get it.
Somebody else is going to take the one that's currently on hold for us, and we will be We'll need, if we need to go back to town meeting next year, then we'll be 2.5 years on an ambulance instead of a year and a half.
At the price, whatever it is then, so.
At the,
Yeah.
at the new price.
I'll make a motion that we commit to this ambulance and we'll make up the shortfall.
Can I not first? Just
So here, second
I'll second it for discussion.
okay.
discussion.
I'm just curious how a $45,000 error is made by whoever was quoting. So we're getting quotes on it because it's not small. It's 15%. It's a pretty large error on the side of quoting something so expensive, and who's doing that, or if just product just shot up that quick, which nothing surprises me these days with where things have gone.
That is part of it. I mean, the 300,000 was a budget estimate. We thought it was a good one,
Right.
based on the last truck being 271 or 272.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
they used to be like 2 1/4.
You paint
Yeah,
it red, it
3 years
goes
ago,
up,
probably.
and then, I mean, it's crazy. But,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
this is actually going to be almost the exact truck that we bought last time, a new model, but similar cabinetry. They're actually removing one cabinet that they find they don't use, I think. So it's fairly basic truck, but it's crazy.
Do they rot? Is there something that happens that they have to be replaced? Where it's a rust issue? Is it a maintenance or?
Yeah, so our ambulances go between 12 and 14 years, and we do experience rust. We had a radiator fall out of one.
Oh, that's bad.
We've had different issues. I mean, they're out in lots of weather. So, I mean, it depends on the weather, and they try to treat them well, they wash them well. But just longevity.
Just a quick question. Is there a standard brand platform that they use, or do they shop around at maybe General Motors or Chrysler or somebody's got a better deal?
They shop around the ambulance maker. So, I mean, these are coming, you buy the chassis and then you build the ambulance around it. So we've switched between Fords and GMCs, and I think they've had good experience with some and good experience with others. Unfortunately, I don't remember what this one is. But they're not necessarily married to a maker.
So does the ambulance maker have some sort of a contract with a chassis manufacturer? Do they get a group rate or something?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure.
So they get whatever might be available?
Yeah.
And the price is probably, I'm guessing it can't fluctuate that much between
Well,
the brands.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a huge swing there, but
I'm just asking the question
Yeah.
because,
like I say, they've gone between two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and then Fords and GMCs and Chevys.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of it is because the box on the back is an ambulance. So I think in cases where we dented that box, they have to be like not just pounded back or fixed, but they have to be like recertified for strength and all, if I remember right. And it's something it has to like go to a specialist for. So we're paying for the pedigree of that box on the back compared to say like your general box delivery truck or something.
so what do we do with the old ambulance?
That's what I was going to ask.
We generally will either trade them or sell them, depending. I think you'll see if you go down to Speedway Services, you might find a couple of trucks that they've used. I think if you go over to Claremont Raceway, there may still be one kicking around that was years
Okay.
ago. But we generally will either trade them, and if the trade isn't sufficient, we'll municipal bid or do some type of an auction.
We have a motion on the floor
And a second.
In a
and
second.
a second, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Appointment to the Heritage Commission. Catherine Luppold, appoint her for an alternate member, 3-year term ending June 2026.
And that's incorrect. It's a full member, not an alternate.
Thank you. Good to know.
No.
She was appointed, we thought, in April, but no one can seem to find the paperwork, so This is reappointment.
Very good.
I was gonna say, I thought this was already done, but
Yep, so did I.
Well, let's do it again just to make it official.
Question, what's the, how big is the Heritage Commission?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with Kate and 2 alternates.
Who's the alternate?
I'm an alternate.
Jeff North and Herb Teller.
Oh, BOS alternate, I see. I don't see Herb listed here.
that's because he was done
Well,
last meeting.
he's on the website.
Okay, I guess it counts if you're on the internet.
You can find it.
All right.
Take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
A second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Community Center. Paul.
Okay. So we had discussed bringing this forward. Community center, I've confirmed the project costs at $9,148,787.
What's that number again?
You should have this in your packet, but it's 9 million, just before the town manager information. So 9,148,787.
Yes.
The funding stack for that project, currently we have $1,044,037 on hand, and that includes the check that was just written today. We have 2 pledges awaiting contract signing for a total of $1,533,333. We have a pledge awaiting construction of the Little League field, which will happen in late of '24, beginning of $300,000. We have $268,667 in multi-year pledges, all of which have paid their first year pledge. I think there are 5 or 6 entities there that have done multi-year pledges. We have $61,750 in 16 outstanding pledges, and we are working on those people. None to date have said they're not paying us. It's just a case of timing for us, I believe. Then we have the USDA funding of $4,785,000, the state grant of $1 million, and the New Hampshire Homeland Security EMPG grant for the generator at $156,000, balancing out the total funding needed. I spoke with Red Loaf today. They have currently, so the projected project costs have been bid and are fixed. That's got current not to exceed that they are holding. They're talking with their subs right now and holding that. The question is, and I had believed that the board was hoping to move forward with this project. Right now, if I have approval in the next few weeks, they'll be breaking ground November 1st. Of the funding stack, there's no concern of receiving the top section, the top 5. USDA, we've been told we have all the paperwork in for that. My only concern with that right now is there might be a funding slowdown. The money has been approved and it's in the budget. If there's a shutdown at the end of the month, it will slow down getting that money, but we're not going to get into that kind of money for well into the spring.
But it is guaranteed.
It is guaranteed.
That's
It is there for us. Yes.
That's also money out of this current year federal.
Right. Not
Not
Correct.
next year.
Not next year.
Right. The money has been
Right.
allocated and set aside. It's
Right.
just
Yep.
if there's a shutdown and I call USDA the next
one
day,
answers- no one
nobody's
answers.
answering that phone. But I don't think that there's a concern in the long run of when we're going to need that money. The state of New Hampshire grant, the applications are due in mid-November. They are not currently letting us know when we will know about the grants. We were certainly told by the governor and the governor's
Don't
council,
sound
that they
good.
fully support the grant, and they're the ones that will vote on it.
But it has to get to them.
It has to get to them.
Been sitting there thinking
In
how
November,
glad I am that I wasn't
so the applications are due in the middle of November. In October, there are pre-application meetings for applicants to meet with, sit down with the state and say, what do you need from us? You have everything you need from us. How should we write this? So we are fully expecting to get that money. And then the EMP grant, we've been told, has been set aside for us, and they're just waiting for us to do the work. That will be a reimbursement basis. And
So the only real question is that $1 million.
the only real question is the $1 million, and I would say that I'm 95% sure.
Well, we can always proceed and go with Vermont.
I guess that's an option.
Couldn't
But
do the math that fast. Did it add up?
it does happen.
Yeah. Okay. Looking for a motion. Paul, what exactly do you want to have said in that motion?
Authorizing the interim town manager to enter into a contract amendment with Breadloaf for the construction of the community center.
I'll make that motion.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I'm an oppose, and just justify that I can't vote on something we don't have all the funds for. I don't have any problem with the project, but I just can't. I can't do it. So,
4-1.
it's been voted on twice. So,
Yep. 4-1.
Can I just
Yep.
say one other thing? The contract has an out that we can stop at any time with no penalty and just pay for the work done to date.
So
If there were an issue,
that worries me a little bit, because, I mean, is that wording part of the contract?
it is.
Okay. Okay, so 4-1 passes. Okay, let's see where I am here. I don't miss anything. Town Manager Search Committee.
Really, do you want to?
I would be happy to. You should have in your packet 3 documents.
Yep.
One is town manager ad.
Yep.
One is the job description, and the other is the profile. And I would call your attention to the profile first, because it is outstanding.
Isn't it?
Yep, it is. Melanie Starcher is a whiz, and she helped put that together for us.
exactly this.
The beauty of it is it can be replicated. We just take out the job part of it, the characteristics, which are at the end, and the information about the job. And we've got a fabulous document that we can use to sell our community.
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
It really is very good.
Yep.
So we are ready to, the committee are ready to go. We've approved all of the documents. The ad is pretty self-explanatory. Paul has a list of places where it will go, starting with the Municipal Association and various print media, also on our website. The job description, hopefully you've had a chance to read it. We talked about the characteristics and the skills with some input from folks who work with the position, and think we have touched all bases. I think I would like to say publicly, for the folks who are listening, there are a lot of concerns about why the town manager cannot be required to live in town. And that is, it was a court case in New Hampshire, and we cannot require the person to live in town. You can have the prerogative of hoping that the person would live in town, and perhaps negotiating a dividend if they did live in town. Obviously, somebody coming here right away, it's going to be very difficult to find a place to live in town immediately. There is nothing to rent,
Difficult to find
per
a place
se.
anywhere.
Anywhere, exactly. So a person could commute from 50 miles away.
Not ideal.
Not ideal, not at all, but I just want the public to know that you cannot require that.
And in reading this, I thought it was very well written that how the, we would hope that they would move here,
Right,
but also the caveat that we want them, if not here, fairly close.
exactly.
So I thought that
To
was,
engage
yeah,
and be
yeah.
the face of the community.
That was a subject of some great discussion within the board about the wording of that specifically,
Mhm.
as to how do you overly encourage and have the appearance of requiring someone to be
Oh,
here
that was
but
well
not,
done.
not actually be here.
Right.
Good.
So we're ready to go. We have some temporary timelines. We figured if you approve this now, that Paul can get the ad out and then we can give potential candidates, I think we figured 3 weeks,
Yeah, 3.5.
about 3.5 weeks to submit resumes. They'll be submitted. They'll be reviewed as they come in.
Mhm.
And then we will do some temporary or preliminary, I should say, culling, and then be ready to do a recommendation to the board for the folks that we think you should interview.
So, did you want to say something, Jeff?
Yeah, and I emailed all of you about this before. My only real concern is the estimated population. Our last census, I think, had us about 6,500.
We took that from a variety of sources, so I can't tell you what the number is in there, but I'm not sure if it was from the state or from the census or,
Yeah, there are differing numbers in different
Right.
places.
But I thought the federal census had a 6299 or something like that.
Yeah, or 6309 or 29.
Right, but we were
Yeah,
certainly down from 6,500 that we were in 2010.
Yeah. And then, but we're also adding 100 units of housing. And,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
By the time we get there, it'll be 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go approximately 64,
Okay, that's...
whatever the board would like to see in there is...
I mean, I wasn't pleased to see it go down in the census,
No.
but that's what it did.
Yeah.
And if someone's looking at us and they pull up the latest census data,
So Paul, what would you like us to, how would you like it worded?
It really does. We can do whatever. I think we used in the advertisement. It says approximate population 65.
No, I'm talking about,
Oh,
before we get into a discussion, I'd like to have a motion.
to advertise the position of town manager as recommended by the search committee.
And
Go ahead.
I'd make that motion, adding, utilizing the profile documents also supplied by the committee.
Yeah, I was kind of wrapping.
Excellent.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Job well done.
Thank you. I think
Really very well
the
done.
population thing is a little difficult to sort of nail down because the census is the census of the people who are residents. There are a lot of people who live here who are not residents.
Mhm.
And it's a number. I mean, if you want to be finite about it, that's your call, but
Yes.
Simply adding the word approximate. Because if you
We
talk
did.
about our daytime,
It was
population
approximate in there,
versus
wasn't it?
nighttime
Yeah.
population,
Yeah, it was
just,
approximate.
it's a moving target that is impossible to nail down. It's here today, gone tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable
You
with
can
it.
put a plus or minus behind it.
yeah, well, it says
Approximate does it.
So we said approximate in the advertisement. In the profile, it's a hard 6,500.
We
So
can change it
We
to.
can change that.
So we have a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice work.
Yeah, I really, if you just send along our heartfelt congratulations. I mean, that's a wonderful.
can you,
Yeah.
I will.
If I
can, Rudy, could you, just for the public's sake, tell who was on the committee, if you remember?
I can.
How about who did all the work?
Worked on this?
The selectmen had 2 members and 1 alternate, so Keith and Jeff and Jim were the select persons. Myself,
Whipple.
Christy Whipple, PJ Lovely,
Herb Teller.
Herb Teller, and the
Where's
new
that?
young man,
Rob
Uh,
Selfridge.
Rob Selfridge, and Paul Brown.
And Mallory
And
Stockton.
Mallory Stockton, who I mentioned at the
Don't leave
beginning.
her out.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
She represented the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, thanks to all of them for the work
Yes.
they've done.
And if I can add, it was an excellent choice of people.
Including yourself in that?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
I,
Yes, it was.
talking about the people I got to work with.
Okay, I
Well,
couldn't
I mean,
pass
it's-
up then.
I mean,
All right.
Appreciate it, though.
we need to give thanks to those people for stepping up,
Yes.
Absolutely.
putting the effort in, so.
Thank
Okay.
you. I will convey your appreciation.
Public forums, chance for the public to speak on issues that are not part of the regular meeting. Chief had his hand up first.
Oh, well, all right.
I had the opportunity to have a discussion with some representatives from Millie's Place. Their current location, the previous owner of that building was renting to them at far below market value due to the charitable nature of their work. The building's under new ownership. In the last several years, the rent has been going up about $300 per year, year after year, and it's now at a point where they're not going to be able to afford that rent moving forward. So they're looking for new digs. So I'm just bringing this to the attention of the community, everybody in this room, everybody that may be watching online. With the current market conditions for rentals, it is far beyond what an organization like Millie's Place could afford, out there in these conditions right now. So I'm looking for somebody that owns property downtown or knows somebody that owns property downtown that would be willing to rent to Millie's Place at a level that they could afford. I don't think a lot of people in this community understand just how great the positive impact that organization has on our community. You can't, when you're dealing with the recovery community, you can't put a financial barrier to entry there because they need to serve a population that cannot afford to pay, membership fees or club fees. Millie's is completely supported by just donations of people that are going to 12-step meetings there. You throw $1 in the basket, and if you don't have $1, you don't contribute anything. But particularly from the perspective of the police department, the people that have a safe space to go at Millie's, not just for meetings, but in between meetings to hang out in a sober, safe place, is a huge benefit to my department. It's a huge benefit to the community. It will be sorely felt if they disappear from the community. So I'm just hoping that either somebody will be willing to rent to them good space downtown. I think they can probably afford at the upper limit about $1,000 a month, or somebody that may be willing to make a charitable contribution to help them afford, a market level of rent. So if anybody fits that bill, if they can reach out to me, I will put them in touch with the right people there. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you very much, Chief. Jeff?
Just with the risk of sounding ignorant, which I guess I am, I'm not aware of
You're not ignorant.
what Millie's Place does fully, and so I think that maybe, since I don't know, that maybe the public
Right.
doesn't fully know, and maybe an explanation of exactly what it is, where they're located, because I don't even know where they're located.
That's a great question, and thanks
So-
for the opportunity. So Millie's Place is a sober clubhouse. They're down in the plaza with Wags and Wiggles and the public defender's office and
Yeah.
the pizza place across from Shaw's. And they, throughout the day, from first thing in the morning until late into the evening, they host 12-step meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous, and other recovery-oriented meetings periodically throughout the day. And then in between meetings, again, it's sort of a hangout place for people in the sober and recovering community where they can go and have fellowship with other people in the recovery community. A lot of the people that go to Millie's Place may live in parts of town where their neighbors, their family are, engaged in consumption of alcohol and other substances, so it's very difficult to stay sober in their home or in their apartment building. So it gives them a place to go where they'll be able to, throughout the day, at any time, for no cost, go spend time with and engage in fellowship with sober people, as well as attend meetings, and again, for no cost at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Dee?
So I want to talk to you about the town's website. It isn't really special, and it isn't kept up, and it's no disparity at the person charged with doing it.
Right.
It's the amount and the workload that the expectation on town forces, and you really need to somehow dig into whatever we have and hire somebody to do our website. We look like 10 cents waiting for change. Now we're trying to get a new town manager, and you know and I know that's the first place they're going to go. They're going to look at our website. They won't necessarily know that the information is accurate until they start looking for minutes, and then they see the dates, or they start looking at notices, and then they see the dates. It's got a good foundation, it just needs maintenance. And it was certainly a very large discussion on the town manager search committee. You know, that's our public face, good, bad, or indifferent. That's our public face. Because the other unfortunate, in my opinion, unfortunate situation is Facebook. And we have a Facebook, the community, there is a Facebook page called What's Up Newport. And I would certainly not want that to be the public face of somebody looking to come to this town.
Thank you.
And so I plead with you to seriously consider hiring somebody to do the website.
Yeah.
It can't be that expensive.
We've had discussions about this. Paul and I have had discussions, other board members have had discussions. We know, gotta be fixed. I don't know if the woman that did your profile would be interested, but we have to.
But
I don't see that there's anybody here we can say, okay, go ahead, take it and go.
you don't, because you're
I think we're in a
terribly
position where we
thin.
have to hire somebody. to do that.
Absolutely, but you can't keep talking about it. You have to take action.
Agree
Particularly,
wholeheartedly.
we're putting the ad out there. It's, it's going to be there, and that's our public face. So I know you get it, but I'm here to just encourage you to
Thank you.
do it.
Yeah. Jeff?
Are there any web developers that may be at the Library Arts Center that have familiarity with that
No.
kind of? Yeah, that's tough.
No, we have somebody who, the Library Arts Center maintains its own website, but there's not the capacity there to do anybody else's.
So I think we're at a point, Paul, not to put any more on your plate, but I'd like to see us really explore this and make some changes. And if we have to hire, let's find somebody to do it.
Is it possible to put this on as an item of the next meeting so we can actually
Yeah.
vote this as a?
Go ahead.
This might be an opportunity for us to work with and partner with the school where we could hit two birds with one stone, so to speak, where
Yeah.
we're duplicating efforts. Certainly we're duplicating funds, I think, to achieve a similar goal for both entities. That maybe, just throwing something, maybe that's an opportunity for us to do something joint.
I like that.
When you say partner with the school, you don't mean partner with the school in the sense of having students develop a site. You're talking about the
they have
the
a need
school.
for a better site, we have a need for a better site, maybe the two together can have a better site,
I would.
a better site.
Two better sites.
There are so many available templates that are really not complicated. I mean, you can build a website on a template fairly
The template's
easily.
there, it's the data.
It's the data, right? So who's going to
And
input
somebody to
that?
manage it over a period of
Right.
time. I mean, we don't want to just,
Keep
okay,
it
let's
updated.
spruce it up and do this and that, and then just say, okay, next 10 years we'll visit it again. So,
That's
No,
what happens.
A website is a living document. It
It
needs
is.
almost daily attention, so.
Jeff, you have experience with that.
Well, just getting the committees current,
Right, Jeff.
Which Jeff?
right.
That, Jeff.
Just getting the committees current and getting the
See my
names of
lack
the
of
people.
websites.
Yeah.
That's been
Tried to
like
get
pushing
all-
spaghetti up a hill.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we will, next meeting, that'll be on the act for action item.
Yeah, if I could just defend, I mean, right now, staff in every department or in each department is tasked with that, along with the rest of their jobs. And
Yeah, as Biddy said, we're not, saying this, about what's going on right now, but we are saying it does need to be improved.
Right.
Okay?
And I personally, I don't think it's a bad website. I think it's a difficult to navigate website. So
Very. I can't find that
informationally, it is
myself.
there if you can dig through and find it. But it's not overly content-wise. It's not overly terrible. It's just I had a very hard time finding my log on to the meeting at a first select board meeting. I'm like, I need to log on. I said, where is it? I just couldn't find it. And I found it after half an hour.
Right,
But
and the other thing is a lot of the historical documents like minutes and agendas are they're not kept up.
Way out of date. Yeah.
They're out of date, so it needs work.
it needs work.
Good.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Biddy.
All right, good.
Anybody else for open forum? Bert?
Thought a lot about this, Barry. Your statement of me being not germane at the last meeting. And I'm going to read to you what I wrote out, and then I'm going to verbalize after that.
Okay.
And your statement to me of not being germane is ludicrous and a foolish attempt to regulate my speech, to conform to what you prefer to hear. That is what the First Amendment does not allow. For you to regulate content, you have gone to the end of the yardstick of maximum things that you could do. I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to do anything with this one, but it's the first and the last. You will not get away with it again. To give the power to regulate speech to the chairperson is to give that person control of the topic of discussion. I was making it clear to all that the Board of Selectmen was not negotiating in good faith. Your exorbitant connection fees compared to other communities fails. To throw away $1 million to receive $130,000 is just plain stupid. An idiot could make that decision. So, as a chairperson and this board, you are subject to the reasonable time, place, and manner restraints that are content neutral and serve a narrow government interest. No matter how you feel in your heart, my right to speak will not be trespassed on. Barry, I've been doing this now since a long time. Well, prior to 1990. I know my limits, and I try and stay within them. I try to assist, but it comes to me that I don't think you think I'm trying to assist anymore. I am. But for some reason, you and as a board or your attorneys are not studying the end result of what you're doing. You need to garner that $1 million or as much of that million as you can possibly get. And you've got other people who have come here and tried. So maybe you have come to an agreement since last week, but I'm speaking on what I have from, when I say last week, last meeting, and it is just wrong. There is no fucking way in hell that I will let you restrict what I say in this meeting. I understand my rights clearer probably than any other citizen in this town. So we are back to Karen Dewey case, where she said, you will not talk to me that way, Mr. Spaulding. I says, I'll talk to you any fucking way I want. It went to federal court. They made the decision on the pleadings. No hearing, on the pleadings that I won.
I'm aware of that.
So the understanding of the First Amendment in this country is what I stand for in this community, if anything else. I don't care about anything else. Let it go. You aren't going to, nobody's going to step on my tongue without me retaliating. More than glad to do things that are helpful to the community. But some aren't seen that way. Some of the stupid things is my little culvert that could have been replaced in no time flat, could have been cleaned out to be used because it was plugged, wound up in me saying, you can't turn around on my property. Well, with the guy that left here, I called Paul and said, hey, this is what I've done. And Paul said, want it in writing. I gave it to him in writing. I will help every place I can. But if my speech is not respected as free speech, that has to be swallowed by you, whether you like it or not, in the forum. So your choice is to limit the forum, move it around, whatever, to shut me up. And that will just aggravate me to the point where I will speak ad nauseum. I will not be put in a box. And Barry, I've noticed it in the last 3 meetings with you, that you are getting more and more restrictive. So I decided tonight I would tell you, this is the last one. The next time I will take and do it on both.
Can I comment?
Yes. You don't need my
Two
permission.
things. Well, I wanted to make sure you were done. 2 things, or actually more than 2. First of all, it is never, nor will it ever be, my desire to fight you or not have you speak. At the last meeting, and I've given a lot of thought to this, Bert, I jumped too quickly. And I admit that. I jumped too quickly because I thought, in my mind, you were taking us in another direction and we were talking about water and sewer. But I didn't give you a chance to bring it to your completion. So I was wrong in that. I don't know where I've been restrictive lately, other than that. I mean, my desire is to keep things moving. And I hope I don't go overboard with that, but that's my desire. I'll be honest with you about that. So, you don't have to worry about me restricting your speech. It won't happen. I jumped too quickly the last time. I'm big enough to admit that. Okay? So, that's how I feel about it.
Thank you. But there's been a lot of time between then and now, and you've been silent. You know my phone number. And you know you can come over and we can sit down and talk.
Yeah.
And I waited patiently and it hasn't happened.
I
Okay?
only
And so
plead this.
I sat
I'm
silent.
working every day now, and I go home and I go to sleep. So,
Yep.
you know.
Okay. Well, thank you. And now, let's see, there are 3 on this board that understand. Jeff North was there the night that I told a person that I would speak. And then he spoke after that. And we've gotten through all of that.
Good.
We're friends now.
But it all boils down to that with me.
Yeah.
There's no other reason for me to be
For
here.
7 years, I've certainly come to understand that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then it shouldn't have happened then. But
But I don't disagree with that.
so, but I also got to give you a little leeway. I'll speak for you now in a bit. The way you acted on the big issue of the town manager was outstanding. And now, though, the pressure of all of that came to you and Paul. And it's been handled super. So I don't want that to be missed in my statement.
Oh, thank you.
For a matter of fact, I sat here tonight and I leaned over to Virginia and I said, after all of what I heard tonight, I says, thank God I lost the election.
I wish I had.
Took a little while for that, huh?
Those who can't do.
So, that all being said,
Okay.
I'm not at war with you. But
You and I have never been at war.
but no, I mean the board.
Oh, okay.
The issues, okay? The issues have to be spoken to, and we have a right to speak to them as a community.
Yeah.
And so that all being said,
As I said, I jumped too quickly. Didn't give you a chance to come to full term with what you were saying.
okay, I'll accept
Okay.
that.
All right. Anything else at open forum? Communication.
Maybe one more thing.
Yep, right up.
Okay. We went today and looked at the 2 bays at the bus garage. And I'm not speaking as a board member, I'm speaking as a citizen. And tried to figure out how we can do and when we can do what we do. It is a brick veneer outside. And I had originally envisioned, we had a shed roof, like so, as opposed to putting it this way on the side, which would actually visually add to the building. It would look like an office. Maybe we don't want that to happen because the real office is further down. Does the board have, now that you have that, think about that, what it is. It's not significant in price to change from one to the other. But maybe that should be part of your decision making.
Paul?
What would the dimensions be?
10 by 30 at most, but really now going back to square footage of 300 square feet. So the 10, there's more than enough driveway on that end of the building. So if it turns and comes out further out and is shorter than the 30, now I had used 20 and I misspoke. So either is it. And I guess we could put it to you as 2 different possibilities for choice. But I can visualize it, and to me, the seeing it from the gable ends would look better for the building itself. But then it's also people who don't know where the office is are going to go there rather than somewhere else.
Yeah, I think we need to be thinking about that, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Are any comments from the board in regards to that? No. Good. Communication, Board of Selectmen. Jeff?
Yep, the school district had the groundbreaking for the new natural science building as part of the tech center today. I was up there. There's a good-sized crowd up there for the given the weather. There's speeches by the superintendent, the architect, and the contractor, and then everyone turned over a little, or about 9 or 10 people got shovels and turned over a blade of grass or a little bit of dirt, and that was it. But now they're ready to start working, and I guess they hope to, I imagine they hope to have it closed in before winter so they can work on it over the winter and into spring and have it ready for the first students about a year from now. So.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, I had a visit from a resident on Unity Road, and I don't know where that email went, Paul, but either between me hitting send or you hitting get receive, anyway. And I said at the end of that email that I would speak about it tonight as communication. The resident asked that I do so, and his question is he lives in the 35 zone right at the end of Unity Road, about the 5th residence in from John Stark Highway. And newly acquired property owner from out of state came here for the scenic beauty, blah, 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 everything else. comment was that in the short time he's resided there, he's seen a number of cars passing other cars, cars traveling at high rates of speed, and really wanted to know historically what was done, what can be done, and really what does the future hold for that section of road. So I encouraged him to go down and speak with Chief Lee at the department, and the comment was that he had already been to the department and spoke to somebody and was told that it was a state police road. They were going to be handling the issues with the speed on that road. So that kind of got me up a little bit that maybe that wasn't going to be the case. So I said I would bring it up and hopefully get him some answers and some more direction. So his question was one, obviously, that since the last couple of years, he was wondering if car accidents were up or down, given that maybe we're not stopping cars as often. I kind of, as soon as he brought that up, I wondered the exact same thing, that there's a direct correlation between the amount of cars stopped and the amount of accidents in the community. And is that proactive enforcement up or down as given years past? The other question this resident had was, can the flashing speed signs that are currently installed on routes 11 and 103 in Guild be potentially moved for a period of time to be placed on Unity Road in that same location? And I didn't want to speak out of turn for that, but I believe they could have been moved or can be moved. So thank you, Chief, for waiting tonight so you could hear this first person. But he also offered up his driveway for cars to stop, for cruisers to park and run radar. But he would certainly appreciate some enforcement along that road. So, and to that end, I guess I'm curious just about how is our proactive enforcement going? Are we up and down with stops over previous years? And is there a correlation? Have we seen an increase in accidents as a result?
So I will tell you that globally throughout the town, proactive enforcement vanished during COVID, and it has not fully recovered. The biggest factor in that is just staffing in the patrol division. I'm happy to report that I just got 2 conditional offers signed today for 2 recruits to put in the next academy, and I have a 3rd very strong candidate in the background investigation process that we're also hoping to send to the January academy. Lieutenant Burdick and I had a discussion this afternoon. Once all 3 of these candidates make it through training and on their own, 1 additional officer will be assigned to detectives, but our intention is to continue running shorter up in administration and put the other 2 positions in patrol, which will double stack several of the shifts with extra patrol officers. That way, even if 1 patrol officer is tied up on calls for service, I can tell you right now, just sort of anecdotally on a day-to-day basis, our 1 patrolman who's on duty, it's pretty rare that they are not responding from 1 call or request for service to the next. So proactive traffic enforcement, we've tried, I do have highway safety money available for that, but I'm also mandating quite a bit of shift overtime, and so when the officers are already spending all their days off covering shift overtime, they're generally not particularly interested in spending more of their off-duty time than doing highway safety patrols. So I hope that by this time next year or sooner, our staffing will be, if all 3 of these candidates work out and we have no other departures, we'll be fully staffed, and at that point, proactive traffic enforcement is much more feasible. That Unity Road in particular is one, for the proactive traffic enforcement that we do, it is one of the top 4 enforced roads in town. John Stark Highway, Maple Street, Bradford Road, and Unity Road are the top 4. So we are doing proactive traffic enforcement on Unity Road. I can tell you that I receive complaints from all throughout town about traffic and, speeding and other types of traffic violations, and requesting more proactive enforcement, and no matter what our staffing is, it will never be enough. But we will do the best we can with that. And then regarding your question about car accidents, I'm just going to have to check the data on that. I don't know what the accidents are on that road.
Certainly wasn't expecting you to be able to
Year after year.
get those.
And then the final question about the flashing speed signs. Yes, those are portable. When Todd was in the highway department, where they're set up out on 11 and 103, we set it up so that bases were installed permanently in the ground, and then the sign just drops in the base. My plan was to install more bases, you know, on Unity Road, on Maple or Bradford, on Pine Street, all the various areas, and then just pick up the signs out of one set of bases, drop them in another set of bases. Since we had the turnover in the highway department, that plan has not, you know, happened yet. I'll certainly work with the highway department to start creating other zones where we could put the signs. But just a fair warning, if we move the signs out of Guild, you will hear about it.
Can you buy more signs?
Yes, at about $7,700 a pair.
But you said you got some money.
But that's for specific, you know,
Okay.
uses.
Oh, I'm sorry, the highway safety money I was referring to, they have grants for enforcement patrols,
Right.
and then they have grants for equipment.
Equipment.
Those highway signs were purchased with an equipment
Yep.
grant. I have money still for more enforcement patrols, and I will tell you for sure that in future years, the equipment grant, I will request more
Okay.
signs, but
Good.
our equipment grant is already done for this fiscal year, so
Okay.
decent
Thank you.
time.
Quick question, those signs seem to be popular,
Very.
for what? I mean, when I was a kid growing up, we didn't have those. Everything was fine. What's the problem? Why do we need those?
So the signs are not going to prevent somebody that is intentionally speeding. It's not going to change their mind. What they do have a positive effect on is people who are simply not paying attention to their speed.
Mhm.
They come into those signs and they go, "Ooh,
And they
shoot,"
slam on the
and then they
brakes,
slow down.
and you see everybody behind them checking up.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I've been monitoring because those signs also collect data,
Right.
and I've been monitoring that data on a periodic basis. Speeds have come down in Guile since we put them in, so
Yeah.
they are working. I would love to put 5 or 6 more sets of those all around town, but you know,
I personally like to see you throw them in the dump.
fair enough.
I think they're the dumbest thing ever invented.
They
I
slow
like
you
to see
down
the
in Sunapee when you come down that hill, I can tell you that.
I sure like that one.
Yeah, but that's not a big. Chief,
Jeff and then.
yeah, Chief, you mentioned one of the main areas you patrol is John Stark Highway. That being a state route, can you leave that more to the state and concentrate on the town roads more, or is it?
We can. I'll tell you, I receive repeated, constant calls from Kellyville asking for more enforcement.
Sure.
I would say that's the most heavily enforced zone in Sullivan County, but still, you know,
Yeah, but I mean, with the limited resources you have, and the state's out there often, you know, perhaps spend a little more time on our roads, and maybe Kellyville is where you need some of those flashing signs.
I mean, if you look at the accident data, John Stark Highway, we have more accidents than any other road, and that's because of the volume of traffic, for sure. But we try to enforce, you know, prioritize the areas where we have the most accidents. And
Okay. Now, I was just wondering if you could leave that, you know, to the state. 'cause-
the idea of a state road versus a town road, whether it's Unity Road or John Stark Highway, really doesn't pertain to jurisdiction. The state troopers can stop cars on Pine Street just as they can stop cars on John Stark Highway, and we can stop cars on John Stark Highway just as easily
Right.
as we can on Pine Street. So it's not an issue of which entity owns the road or maintains the road. It's just trying to prioritize our resources, and I'll be completely honest with you, as the person that receives the calls, I try to prioritize the resources where I get the most complaints.
You have an old cruiser kicking around that you could just like park out there?
We just sold two surplus cruisers on Municipid, and
Yeah,
got
should have
rid
kept
of them.
one and just park it out there. It'll work just as good as those signs.
Bert, go ahead.
I know where you can get the $7,000, and that's go out there and sit on 11 and 103. Since COVID, the speed limit has gone up. It is a 35-mile-an-hour zone. You may take the signs away, but if you do that, then they'll probably do 70. So you leave the signs at least But going to the one out there, like he said, you're going along and you look, oh, and you slow down. It is a great reminder. And so,
I'm sure that was tongue-in-cheek, but just to clarify, we don't receive any revenue from tickets that we write. That all goes to the state general fund.
Maybe we ought to change that.
No kidding. I thought the town got a
Convince the
portion
state
of
to
it.
give that
Yeah.
money.
That's true.
We do not. So
And forget
if
the
we
rest.
write a whole bunch of extra tickets, we don't see it.
Wow. Jim?
But what we do see is a reduced number of accidents. So one of the things I asked the chief was a data set of information regarding stops to accidents. And if our accidents are going up, that means our stops have probably gone down. And it's just a matter of the guys who are on duty, whether they're handling a call or not. If they're not handling a call, then they're more likely doing proactive, preventative patrols, or Lord knows, writing lengthy police reports. But I get it, and I just wanted to make that reference when he asked about the accidents, if they were up or down. And I said, well, there's a data set that goes with that, and certainly patrolling is done based on the needs.
And the proactive patrol is something that I have made a priority this year. We are ticking back up again. We're just not back to pre-COVID levels, but the activity has gone up. I also used our highway equipment grant to buy a handheld laser. We've been out there using it in areas that are difficult to patrol in a moving vehicle with radar, so we're making progress, but we've still got a ways to go.
Let me, one more comment, and this is my own personal feeling, is, when you're doing patrolling, I'm not impressed with the color of the new vehicles. They sort of tend to be camouflaged, but the markings on the white ones are such that you notice it's a patrol car, and that alone can get you to slow down. The visible presence of a patrol car. The other one, the Dodges, with the gray or whatever and the dark markings, it's like, of course, then you notice them when it's too late. But just for having a visible presence, of a patrol car, the older cars, I think, work better.
You had a personal experience with that, Jeff?
No, I haven't, but I've grown to like the logo and the looks of the old cars. And the branding they say for the town versus the new ones.
I said to our previous town manager, I said, just don't get a gray one. Because Claremont got a gray one, and it's like, they look like campus security. They should have got a black one, or like you said, the
They
white.
used to have black ones with like purple lettering or something that.
Jim, did you have a comment?
No, just Jeff's point is exactly spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody has, what they like and what they don't like, and the gray ones, I inherited that.
Right, I know that.
But one message that I have gotten loud and clear is we need to stick with something and be consistent.
I'll just say as we go forward and we look at, this goes to the website also, and the logo here, as a town, if we develop more or less a brand, so that, you see that, it's like, Newport, whether it's, on a sign coming into town, the website, or on the side of one of our patrol cars, it identifies it as being part of the town of Newport. And that's something that I think we should strive for going forward as a community.
Okay.
Thank you. That was all I had.
I'm all set. Oh,
Jeff?
I said enough.
Yeah, I would like to just throw up a kudos to Dan Hewitt and his wife, who came to the Historical Commission committee meeting this week, and by the end of this week, they have their slate replica roof going up on their building on 31 Main Street. It is, in my opinion, is highly commendable that someone would take the effort and the financial burden of doing something so historically correct, and it's very impressive. I have also known that the old jail down here has been purchased, and they've done a nice job. They've done a nice job on their plantings and the rocks that went out front. They straightened out their front stair.
The old police station.
Old police station, yep.
The old
And
jail is
jail's,
the one
is
across the
right,
street.
yes, I swapped them.
I would feel a few people in there too.
And the, it looks like they put some signs in the back, kind of some pretty cool looking signs that are sort of a historic look to them. And it's just sort of, it's just sort of a direction that I think that it's nice to see the town going. So thank you to Dan. I also would like to say that a number of meetings ago, when I had mentioned doing the drawings of the Main Street striping, that it was actually Dan who did that, and it wasn't LaValle's. I had misspoken and said LaValle's. It was him, and just because he works there and is affiliated does not mean that he put in work time. He put in his personal time and on vacation to do those drawings. So I want to just make a correction what I had said previously. So that's
All set? Okay, thank you. Up until this year, we have always had fairly functional, very functional, BAC. It would appear to me that it's struggling at the moment to exist. So to that degree, one citizen has stepped forward, Herb Teller, and he would like to get that back in order. I don't think we even have a chair at this point.
You need to have a committee before you have a chair.
Thank you. You're right. But Herb would like to encourage members of the community to re-involve themselves or involve themselves with the BAC. Very, very important area. Nothing happened last year, no recommendations from the BAC or anything of that nature, and that's the first time in a long time that, ever since I've been here, that it didn't take place. So Herb, thank you for bringing that up, and if you are interested in being a member of the BAC, you can contact the town office, and we'll set you in the right direction. Yes?
Could Herb explain to the public what the BAC and the function of the BAC and what the acronym is?
It's a budget advisory committee, and I'm just learning the guidelines myself. I was checking into that today, and the only place I really could find them was through the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
And our BAC, at this point, they're charged with making recommendations, not with saying this is the way it's going to be or whatever. So but it still has power in terms of that recommendation and what goes into the town report. I always looked at that,
That is defined by the state as far as either a budget advisory or you have a budget committee.
Yeah. So we're advisory in nature, but I think it's an important item. And,
Just another set of checks and balances.
yeah, I'd like to see one. Herb.
Yeah, I was on it for a long time.
Yes, you
and
were.
It just evaporated. But the person who put the most effort into trying to get it right was Seth Wilner.
Yeah.
And so there's a
Maybe we
first
start
number.
there. Yeah.
It is you people and the school board get more time with the budget than the BAC does, and I believe it's hard to grasp. They want to do the right thing, but can't get the depth of knowledge, and so it may be hard to fill. If that's the case, then maybe we drop the numbers down because there is I'm going to call it a regulation, but it's not. It's a document that states what it should be and how it should act. Before that came on, we didn't seem to have a problem.
I was on it with Dwight. Chair.
The fountain?
He kept things moving.
Yeah.
So, and the whole committee did. I mean, at that point, like you say, it is hard to really kind of grasp, but we made every attempt to try to do it. And
I think in the past, we've aimed for about 7 members on the committee. There would be a Board of Selectmen rep, a school board rep, and then 5, citizens at large. And there would also be the town finance director and the school business administrator that would be like liaisons, when their budget's being discussed.
you were our representative on that.
Yes.
A long time.
Yeah. mean, it's, normally at some point, either the school board or this board would get their budget to the point where they would turn it over to the budget advisory committee. It would be presented to them at a meeting, gone over and explained what the numbers are, how we got to them, and they would question things and, generally try to get an understanding so that they understand how it was put together and why those numbers were there. So that it was basically like a check on the work of the municipal boards before it went to the voters.
So again, if anybody is interested, please contact the town office, town manager, and we'll set you in the right direction. Yes. go
At
ahead.
what point did it begin to evaporate? Because at the last deliberative session, I think there were a lot of articles that at the bottom said this is recommended by the BAC and the BOS.
No,
No?
we took, it might have been on there when we were looking at the articles, because Paul hadn't cleaned that off the
Okay.
boilerplate, but no, it didn't go to,
There were no recommendations last year. Yeah, it's the first time.
I may be
can
thinking
remember
of the year before.
The year before did.
I mean, it sort of started, I guess, falling apart when Dwight got off, because Dwight more or less kept us on an even keel, and, Seth stepped up and
that. Oh, Seth tried
did,
it.
yeah,
He tried it.
did his best, but, it can be a time consuming,
Only for periods of time.
right, generally, ideally, end of December into January for the school budget, and probably, end of March into April for our budget. And certainly, people in the BAC, like any other citizen, can attend school and town budget meetings on their own and learn more about it and see the process and all. And I think both groups, the meetings are recorded by NCTV and can always be looked at any time.
Bert?
Lowering the number, Jeff, I think will help because we have a society now that is, we're on techno overload between the internet and etc. People are doing other things. And so the numbers, I think, will have to drop. Paul's new budget plan for you people is easy to do because you have access to it. To a citizen, not so. But once you get it, it's oil. It's good. So I think lowering the numbers will help. But if we got down to 5, there probably would be 5 people out there.
The problem with, well, I'm saying 7, including the school board rep and the selectman rep. So that leaves 5 regular citizens. If you cut the total number down to 5, you're cutting down to just 3 citizens. And we already got 1 right there with her. So you either need 2 or 4.
Two.
Well, you're at 2, I believe, because unless Seth has changed his mind, he's adamant he wanted to get it together.
Right.
Oh,
And
good.
I think he had
I didn't
time,
realize that was the case.
I think he had time constraints or issues last time.
I was told he would probably be interested as long as he wasn't chairman.
So I think
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we'll
I have
Herb
Okay.
can be chairman, and,
Yeah.
they can pick Herb as chairman.
He can self-elect.
It's up to the board,
Yeah.
other committee.
okay.
Just one more.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
I just would like to just say that how interesting and informative and appreciated the amount of work that Donna puts into those weekly letters about the school. 'Cause I tell you what, it takes about a week to read it, and it must take long. It would take me a week. It takes about a week
It's
to
low,
read.
it's,
It
very
is
comprehensive.
I don't know if that is available to the public, but I find those are the kind of things that'd be nice to see on the website. That it really, for something that I don't have children in the school any longer, then I'm not involved in it. It does tell a lot. Sometimes I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot to read, but it's a lot, and I think that she does a very nice job on it.
Look at the
Can I
same
add?
thing just daily.
Yes. Bert.
Can I add to his?
Yeah.
The Energizer Bunny. She has more capacity than you can imagine. And from my standpoint, I see so much. The cell phone change.
Mhm.
No cell phones in middle school.
Mm.
They go in a locker. That keeps me from texting Paul Brown that we're going to beat you up in the hallway when between class. And if I'm on it, I'm not learning. If he's on it, he's not learning either. If neither of us on it, maybe the two of us are learning, and we're not interfering with somebody else. Like, hey, look at this. See what I just found. So that in and of itself, I said was, wow, the phones are going to ring off the hook. They did not.
Did not.
That means the parents have understood the interference of technology in the classroom. And that should be significant to bringing us up from where we are. And she got it done.
Excellent.
Yep, it is.
Town manager. I remembered you this time.
Thank you. Quickly, just let you know, flood repairs are continuing. Witcher Road is open now.
Oh.
It's not completed. It needs pavement put down. That is being scheduled, but the last week of rains on and off didn't help. And Camel Hump Road and Fletcher Road will both be worked on, should be being worked on by the end of the week. So they are moving forward, and we just received our permit to repair a section of Old Goshen Road. So we are getting caught up on the major flood repair issues, and then we're also doing some roadside work on the smaller things. So we're progressing there, still waiting for the governor has requested the federal disaster declaration. The president has not declared yet. So we are waiting for that, for financial recovery from these, but that is ongoing. So that was the first thing. And then the second one is, did the board want to do a retreat this year? There's been no discussion of that. Don't need to talk about it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Don't need to talk about it tonight, but something to think about.
Okay. Yep, good. Anything else? Okay. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into a non-public session. 91-A:3E litigation and
And D,
what?
real estate. And D, real estate.
I was gonna
Pleasure.
I was gonna say.
Thank you.
Later.
Cut me off. And real estate, 91-A:3-2D.
3D.
That one.
Whatever you say, Jeff.
So moved.
Roll call, Jeff?
You need a second.
I seconded it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was just a little bit hoarse on that. I seconded it.
What?
I gave it a second, giving it a second.
Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim? Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay.
Staying fat would be Paul, I presume.
Paul, yes, Paul was the major mover in this one.
Paul's
Where are we
requesting
here?